Today we bring you a major breaking development in Mexico's ongoing war against organized crime. Mexican military forces have killed one of the world's most wanted drug lords, Rubén el Mencho Oseguera Cervantes, founder and leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, known as CJNG. His death, however, has not brought calm. Instead, it has unleashed chaos, violence, and uncertainty across large swaths of the country. And analysts warn this crisis could redefine the future of cartel violence in Mexico and beyond. Rubén Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, was a former police officer turned cartel boss who built one of Mexico's most destructive criminal empires. Originally part of the Milenio cartel, El Mencho broke away and founded the CJNG around 2009, emerging as a dominant force in the Mexican drug war. Under his command, the CJNG grew into one of the country's most militarized and far-reaching criminal organizations, with tens of thousands of members and a paramilitary structure that blurred the lines between cartel and army. The cartel trafficked massive quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and especially fentanyl, a powerful and often deadly synthetic opioid, into the United States. The United States government had placed a $15 million reward on El Mencho's capture, and the CJNG itself was officially designated as a terrorist organization by U.S. authorities in 2025. For years, he evaded capture, surviving military operations, extradition efforts, and even surviving attempts by rival groups and authorities to take him down. On February 22, 2026, Mexican Special Forces launched a carefully planned military operation in the mountainous region of Tapalpa, in the state of Jalisco. Officials say troops entered a CJNG compound, where El Mencho and several associates were located. Mexican forces were reportedly ambushed by cartel gunmen, leading to an intense firefight. El Mencho was seriously injured during the raid and later died while being transported by helicopter to Mexico City for medical care. He was 59 years old. At least 6 cartel members were also killed in the raid, and significant weapons and armored vehicles were seized. Mexico's government said the operation was executed by its own forces, though U.S. intelligence assistance played a supporting role. Officials and local authorities had hoped El Mencho's death would weaken the CJNG. Instead, violence erupted almost immediately. Cartel operatives began a coordinated campaign of retaliation, burning vehicles and businesses, erecting roadblocks, engaging in armed clashes with security forces, and sowing panic across several Mexican states. At least 25 members of the Mexican National Guard and other security personnel were reported killed in clashes following the operation, along with dozens of cartel gunmen. More than 250 roadblocks were reported across 20 states, schools were shuttered, and some cities faced near total shutdowns as residents sheltered indoors. In Puerto Vallarta, a vibrant tourist destination frequented by Americans, arson attacks and violence forced airlines to suspend flights and issued travel warnings. The eruption of violence had real human consequences. Tourists were stranded, flights were delayed or canceled. Civilians reported panic and fear as cartel forces tried to assert control on the streets. In Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city, heavy fighting and roadblocks forced residents to stay inside, and local authorities declared states of emergency. To maintain order, thousands of Mexican National Guard troops were deployed across hotspots, reinforcing security in rural and urban areas alike. The U.S. Department of State issued shelter-in-place warnings for American citizens in affected regions and activated 24/7 assistance hotlines for travelers in danger zones. President Claudia Sheinbaum addressed the nation with a message of calm and coordination. She urged citizens to trust in Mexican institutions and reaffirmed that security operations must respect human rights and constitutional limits, even in the face of powerful criminal networks. Sheinbaum stressed that returning to an unchecked war against cartels could violate human rights and lead to abuses, and that security efforts must stay under civilian oversight rather than fall into militarized extremes. Human rights groups have long argued that excessive militarization in cartel conflict has fueled abuses and distrust, and the president's comments reflect that debate. Across the border, the situation drew attention in Washington. The U.S. government acknowledged its intelligence support in the raid and called for continued cooperation, while also warning Americans to avoid areas affected by violence. Political figures in the U.S. tweeted mixed messages, leading to public disputes over credit and narrative control, underscoring the complicated nature of bilateral security cooperation. To grasp the significance of this moment, we must understand how CJNG became so influential. Unlike older cartels, CJNG built a highly centralized and militarized structure with paramilitary units equipped with military-grade weapons, including U.S.-sourced rifles and drone technology. Under El Mencho's leadership, the cartel was not just a drug trafficking organization. It was a continental force, operating with hierarchical command and specialized units. CJNG's reach extended into politics, law enforcement, and even local communities, often through corruption, intimidation, and selective social support, making it harder to dismantle. None of this was accidental. It was strategy. This effectiveness made CJNG one of the most dangerous criminal syndicates in the hemisphere, capable of challenging state authority and sustaining multiple fronts of conflict simultaneously. With El Mencho's death, a significant power vacuum has opened within CJNG. Unlike some cartels that have clear heirs, CJNG's second-in-command, El Mencho's son known as El Menchito, has been imprisoned in the United States since 2025. This absence of a direct successor raises the possibility of internal power struggles within the cartel, a situation that historically leads to spikes in violence and fragmentation. Analysts warn that splinter groups could emerge, each vying for territory and influence. This fragmentation can make the cartel threat even more diffuse and unpredictable. So, what does the future hold? Security experts say that Mexico stands at a crossroads. Some argue that targeted intelligence and law enforcement cooperation between Mexico and the United States could significantly weaken cartel operations. Others warn that the death of a major boss often triggers wider instability before any lasting peace can be achieved. The violence seen in the last days shows just how entrenched and resilient criminal networks have become. A purely military response may not be enough. Experts call for long-term strategies that address corruption, poverty, recruitment incentives, and economic alternatives for communities affected by cartel presence. As Mexico prepares for major international events like the 2026 World Cup, ensuring stability and safety will be central challenges for its leaders and citizens alike. The death of El Mencho may be a symbolic victory, but the story of violence triggered afterward shows this conflict is far from over. This is not just Mexico's crisis. It affects border security, drug trafficking patterns, public safety, tourism, and regional cooperation across North America. We will continue to monitor developments as they unfold. Subscribe for regular updates, deep dives, and expert reports on one of the most complex security challenges of our time. Stay informed and stay safe.